Hello there, beloved Ascension Pioneers, and welcome again to a topic on ascension and, of course, our self-empowerment, which is a byproduct of our ascension. So in this topic, I wish to speak a little bit on grace and how grace naturally protects us. So I've been talking a lot in my videos about discernment and how to actually move more inwardly to become your own inner teacher, master, and guru, and to step aside from those who maybe sometimes ask you to call them masters or teachers or, you know, in terms of egoically conditioned labels. But, you know, everybody now who is physically ascending is moving towards their own self-empowerment and embodiment. And as long as we still live in this physical plane, there's still aspects of duality playing out. So this is why sometimes people are confused on whether should they protect themselves or should they just be love, how to protect themselves. You know, it's easy to say, okay, be love, be in joy, be in that vibration, and everything will just naturally align. Because many times we think we're love, but we're not really on that highest frequency of love. And I wish to read to you from the excerpt from the Ascended Master's Book of Ritual and Prayer, which is a book I'm really recommending. There's beautiful writings and rituals shared here in this book from the Ascended Masters, and the one I've been reading from is El Morya, and it speaks about the nature of divine protection. And this divine protection is about really stepping into understanding of why you would actually even need protection. I'm trying to find this in the book because obviously I didn't mark it properly, and I marked the other ritual. Must be close, because I'll read you apart from this, which really covers the basis of why protection is still so important. So, you know, as we're moving closer to our true divine self, we're moving into the union of our graceful state. And once we're in the state of grace, we just have this magnetic shield of love all around us. But up until the point, you know, when humans are still evolving, there's always going to be aspects of duality playing out. So before you become a master of polarity on all levels and truly unify from within, like we see in the Buddha, when he was sitting under a tree and all the aspects really unified right in front of him because his internal dynamics were unified. His consciousness started to exist only within the unity field of that divinity of Christ itself. So El Morya here talks about the ritual of protection, and I'm going to read you one part which is really important and I really resonate with. So then later I would explain a bit how can you more easily attune to what's being presented to you as external information, because we're always going to encounter information that's external. So it's not about judging the sources you're either receiving your information from or the people who are of these sources, but just how the energy speaks through and learning to discern how this energy really speaks through, because it's, as you know, it's not about the messenger, it's about the message. And yet the messenger in fact is still important if we choose to blindly follow what they're saying, what they're speaking. Many times we're not seeing clearly, or discernment is still lacking. So in this part I will read you and you can see yourself why this is so important, right? So the ritual of protection goes as follows. Protection is a difficult issue to communicate, says El Morya. To many, it is an unnecessary procedure that attracts darkness and creates problems rather than solving them and protecting against them. Some firmly believe that the act of protection actually attracts the darkness in various ways, and that by simply remaining faithful and trusting in God, it would not. Others testify and believe that the act of creating protection also creates the evil that assails against it, and that all darkness is merely an illusion. Others still claim that we should have simple and ultimate faith in our guides, in God, in the masters and angels that watch over us and protect us. And you know, many do say that. This in itself is true, but you are beings who still remain bound to the earth with all its laws and limitations, and you must take responsibility for your own lives. And you must understand and believe that the darkness does indeed exist. It is a part of the universe and part of the divine. So the first thing to embrace is there is no separation between light and dark, because they are one unified part of creation. To say that the darkness is merely an illusion is to say that the light itself is an illusion, and this is not so. As we have seen and discovered, the darkness is not evil, but the darkness will do whatever it can to try to prevent us from reaching the evolutionary goal that is our destiny. And if that means employing those who carry evil within their hearts and minds, then so be it. And if you've noticed in your own path, sometimes there will be, when you have moments of great clarity, when you almost like transcend the matrix on a new level, there will be sometimes things coming at you, trying to test your newfound sense of discernment. And that is perfect, because these are your challenges. These are there for a reason, and you've placed them there yourself. So we must take responsibility for ourselves upon the earth. Yes, we must call upon assistance, aid, and protection from the masters and angels and all those spiritual beings that surround us. But we must do what we can to provide ourselves with the form of protection that will keep at bay not only the spiritual but also the darkness that assails on the levels of the heart and the mind, and indeed the body itself. In order to be safe and secure, we must cover all areas of existence that we may not be tempered with, controlled, manipulated, drained, attacked, and weakened. And this is where unity consciousness comes into play. But many times we think we're unified, but we're still not unified, because when you're really unified, it's you are all. You really become the Christed being, and there's no such things that would kind of submerge that which, you know, its true unified state. And only when we have these weak points, it's when we can be sometimes susceptible to these things entering, either our blank spots or blind spots. Sometimes our auric field has this hold because of these different patterns or ancestral patterns even, and we can attract these things. But even when they're attracted to us, it's for the betterment of our empowerment. So the more we empower, the more we awareness, the more we increase our awareness. So many would say that the best way to protect yourself from the darkness is to transcend it, and this of course is true. Low-level entities, elementals and such like, which assail from the lower vibrational dimensions, can simply be overcome through transcendence. Transcendence is lifting the vibration through joy and happiness to a higher spiritual plane. It is simple enough exercise and can also assist you in protecting yourself from negativity of a mental, emotional, or physical level. When you find yourself in the company of someone who is emotionally or mentally disturbed or confused, who carries a great deal of negative energy on these levels of their personality, or someone who is physically sick, then you can remove yourself from the influence of these lower vibrations or conditions simply through exercising joy and happiness. But this is not always the case, and he will explain. It was in the fable of Peter Pan that he managed to fly by finding a happy thought. You've probably seen the movie, right? This is the same in your reality. If you want to fly, to soar in the higher spiritual vibrational dimensional realities, then you must find your happy thought. And you must find the joy that exists inside your heart, and you must focus upon it. A memory of a happy time, a person whom you love, something that brings you joy and happiness, even if it's food or a place. Find your happy thought, hold it in your mind, and a light radiating out from the heart like a warm wave of energy. Allow yourself to smile or laugh and feel yourself gently lifted above and beyond the realms of and this darkness. However, this is the part that's really important now. Because when we try to say nothing exists, nothing dark, but we're still not in the awareness of unification, things will prove us otherwise. And this is why people say, but how? You know, I was so happy. I was so always thinking only light, light, light. I did nothing wrong. Of course you didn't, but the awareness was lacking. You didn't embrace the whole polarity of creation. So however, the darkness does truly exist on all vibrational planes, only in different forms and disguises. So even if you raise yourself to a higher vibrational frequency, you will simply be facing a darkness, which is, in a sense, more powerful, more extreme, and you must be prepared for that. There is only a certain limit or extent to which your vibration can rise at any one given point in your evolution. So we're not always as evolved as humans to have an understanding of the level we're newfoundly attuning to. And things existing on that level also are challenges, so we must be vigilant. And so maintaining that state of joy and happiness is difficult, but there are always ways to protect yourself. In the era in which I lived as Arthur, protection was simple. To those who lived in a physical world, protection was a good shield or suit of armor. It was a castle with strong walls or deep moats. It was good men and women. It was a fast horse. But for those who live at the time of a spiritual and magical level, like the counselor who was my friend and family Merlin, who is now the Ascended Master Saint Germain, protection was also a magical and spiritual thing, a thing performed with a ritual and prayer, calling upon the power of deity and archetype. The ritual that I'm about to give you is a combination of the two. It is utilizing symbology from my own era of kingship, the image of the sword. Some may say that this ritual is complex, and indeed it is, but once the ritual has been practiced a certain amount of times, it will become easy to remember, it will be fluid and smooth, and you will undoubtedly feel the power of its protection. So then he explains the ritual, and basically you have, if you imagine a 12-pointed star and this is how the shields, the different light essences are being placed into it. And I'm not going to go into this in this video, so it's in the book if you want it. But it's really important because sometimes when we are at the levels of transcendence, reaching from one state of embodiment to a new one, that sometimes we can be very vulnerable. And at those times when we're still vulnerable as humans, it's very good that we utilize protection, because it's almost like we emanate this newfound light, and it's almost like moths to a flame. Things or entities can be drawn towards us. And you're only truly, truly in your power and protected when you believe, firstly, that you're protected. It's very important to really believe, because then that's your reality, to know it so. But also, not doubt your guidance when it shows you maybe, look, you need protection on this level, and to utilize it in a form of energetical attunement. So what I did when I had a situation, I actually placed a pyramid structure of the violet flame. And this structure was emanating, I gave this fusing intent that this light of the violet flame always, you know, at every moment is increasing. So I put this pyramid between the organization and the person who in that time was trying to violate my personal space. And I myself removed myself from it, so that the triangle was only created through the spirit and the organization and the person. So they're the ones who need to come into contact. They're the ones who are actually now from there. And when I did my own vibrational attunement, they're the ones who are dealing with this, and it helped. It really worked, and I can tell you it worked. And I share more about this in my mastery courses, and I give some of these exercises that can help to attune you, because in order to be a master is not just say I'm a master. You know, I'm a master of my reality, I'm a master of power, I'm a master, I can do anything. But to really utilize it, you vibrationally embody it. You can say many things. You know, many people say many things. They're this and that. But when it comes to a real situation, we can still have these vulnerable, weak spots. So in this next part of the video, I wish to share that something on the note of really being discerning when it comes to New Age information and channeling spiritual teachers and gurus, whatnot. Because there's a certain amount of information that is really not of the light. It's not, it has these partial half-truths that will only keep you more confused. And, you know, other parts that are shared as an energy that's emanating from there, they're not within truth. So if you imagine a source of manipulation, it often comes as in, let's give them 90% truth, but then let's mask those 10% with something that won't even be noticeable. It's so well hidden sometimes. You have to be really aware being to recognize how the energy works, how things can manipulate you so you can discern your way through it. And this is why I'm making this video. Mark my words, you know, we're all moving to that state. But the thing is that things that come as the challenger, sometimes people say, oh, you attracted this because, you know, if there's negativity, it means you're negative too. And I say many times, this not is so black and white. There's lack of awareness here. Things are much more complex in truth. Not complicated, but complex. So when you understand this, that it's not all just law of attraction, negative causes negative, you know, then you have the understanding that all there is just law of attraction. There's many, many different laws in the universe. But there's also a lot of going against the universal laws by those who have forgotten who they are. And sometimes they were called fallen angels. Or there's even beings who think they're of the light, but they're channeling information through them which has aspects which are not really of truth. You know, they can say I'm light because the information they share might seem light, but it's not the same as the truth. And the truth is that which is fully within unification of the law of one. And it really comes as unified. It comes through grace. So when you embody a state of grace, you're naturally in resonance with this. And even if there's oppositions coming towards you, you can transform those oppositions by really staying in your neutralized vortex self. But there's great understanding there. And you can say, oh, I'm unity, but are you embodying this with your whole being? Like he says, all levels are important, emotional, mental, spiritual, physical, all of them. And if one is even slightly off the chart, then there might be a loophole, and an entity or a lack of understanding or false manipulation or implant might come through that. It's almost like these holes. Even the beings who were not supposed to be here at certain eras of our planetary evolution came here through those loopholes. So they found these tiny little portals, so they managed to kind of like translate themselves here. And this was all a part of the process as well, because everything is divinely ordained, even that which we say, oh, this is an intrusion. And when you perceive certain darkness or a lack of information or misinformation or manipulation in your lives, then instead of thinking this is an intrusion or this is something, it's not for me, I'm avoiding it, then just doing like this, just brushing it off your shoulder won't change anything. The reason when everything really takes place is for you to grow in your mastery, but not just by saying, okay, I'm a master, I don't do anything. But that's the reason these situations happen, so that actually we can come into greater levels of working with our power. We're growing as masters on earth, and this is a part of a beautiful process. You know, every time you get a little of your power back, you feel so proud, you feel so great, you feel humbled by the presence of divinity that is helping you to reach that state. So I want to share some ways that information that is really unified comes to you. First of all, it's important, it never gives you direct answers. So when you find a guru, first of all, if they tell you, call me master, they want to demand that you call them a certain label, you know, it's not really genuine, because the state of grace does not need any names. You know, we're all in truth, we're all pure beings of light and love. So I'm not saying be watchful of it, or, you know, stay out of it, or, you know, be careful. People often say be careful, and they're warning against the darkness. Warning is in sense of denial, it's separation. Even if that is there, it's there to teach you something. It's there in your life. Everything that exists is there for a reason, but the way we embrace it is important. That's how we grow in power. So instead of telling you, be careful of this, be careful of that, I'm just sharing with you that how you can better recognize the information that's pure, that's benevolent, that's shared through the presence of the I Am. The beingness that is universal, it's Christed, and that which has a certain amount of truth, but then, you know, like the Bible, it has certain truth, but then a lot of manipulation within it. And then how it was interpreted later created more distortion, and then more, and it kind of like branched out through the different religions, and it got more and more fragmented, so that our truth cannot be unified. And the whole process of this awakening is to keep parts and segments of us fragmented, and by taking our power back, we step away from those fragments and unify them. So first step is knowing that the truth will never give you direct answers, because truth knows its source. So if you ask someone for advice or something, you know, when I was doing these spirit messages, I never told people what to do, because the moment when someone tells you, you should be doing this, or this is maybe the place you need to go at, this is what you do, it already is inception in your mind. Watch the movie Inception, really strong message there. It's so profound how such a tiny thing can influence you so fast. So you give your will to something, and it literally clouds your mind, and you can't stop thinking about anything else but that. Someone told me. And this is a lot of this psychic energy sometimes. So it's psychic, it's not the same as within truth. We all exist within many psychic levels, but astral is not the same as your ethereal master presence. People still confuse. I see them use the word ethereal and astral in the same sentence, although it was the same thing. It's not. So when these masters who have, you know, they call themselves lords and ladies of the Shambhala, they live within this unified field, and that's what keeps them in the state of grace. And when we're working towards our mastery, we're doing the same, but we're doing it in our physical form. And although it was shared this in some sources that masters of the past, they couldn't hold their seventh dimensional angelic self in their form, so they kept moving in and out of it, so eventually losing their form and moving on, progressing in their evolution. This is always possible, because we're always experimenting. Source is always experimenting. We can't say, okay, this is not possible, or it's not possible to be fully in your power. It's not possible to be fully grace in this human form. Why not? Who limits those things? But it does need devotion and work to yourself and honoring of that which is truth. So one thing we learned is truth never gives you a specific direction, guidance, anything like that. It just emphasizes that the essence of who you already are, and within that essence you make your own vibrational choice and alignment. The second, it's really important, if there's a teacher you like, or a source or whatever, look at how much they embody what they're sharing. You know, sometimes information feels very good, but you look at the being, you kind of can't put the two together. Sometimes there's a crack in between. There's a vibrational difference, and it's normal, because a lot of people who channel, they channel a certain beingness, but they themselves, you know, and that's why I say it's most important for you to connect to your higher self and start to progress towards embracing the I amness that is in you, your own God self, within the universal God self. And this means it will be pure because it comes from you, nothing that comes from externally, you know, I mean, everything that comes from externally can be manipulated. Within you, it cannot. So how do you discern? Well, it's very simple. You stay true to you. You get rid of those influences that tell you what to do. And a lot of times, you know, there's a lot of information being shared out there, which is very specific. Like, this is how it is, you know, someone makes a topic and they share their point without adding that maybe this is their own perspective, this is their point. It's not always the truth of all. There's many holes. I'm noticing sometimes if I see something and I read something, there's a lot of stuff and it feels very gooey and good. But then I feel something in it. It's almost like a distortion in the light matrix and the light grid of that which is being shared. It's no longer the same. And people might say, it doesn't matter. It's just, you know, one aspect, 1%. Well, it's not whole. It's not unified yet. And this is what it is. In your mastery, you will only seek the unified light of truth. You won't seek those partial truths because you know that, okay, there came the steps. But a lot of times there can also be traps, because if you can't discern and if you can recognize something as a partial, you will give it substantial matter as it is the universal. So beings, or, you know, who share this way, they mostly are not giving it direct, like how it is, giving you dates, prophecies, foresights, whatever it is. Because I was doing this exercise myself. I was practicing by watching this video of someone giving a tarot reading. And usually it's popular nowadays, people make these astro predictions for certain signs, and they say, this is for Virgo. And imagine how many Virgos are there in the world. And only a small percent of the people maybe really find something there. But the rest find something mentally, they link with that which is being shared, and they think, okay, this is what's going to happen in my life, so they stay alert for that. And of course it happens because they were giving their focus there. But again, it's incepted. So as much as people are serving in their own way and they're trying to help others, the best way to help others is to really, really walk your own talk, be always devoted to truth coming through you, and do your inner work. Because there's a lot of those who say they're healers, but their inner work isn't done. And what this sometimes means is they're not taking enough space for themselves. I know that the level of the light work I do is, it requires time away, it requires so much purification, so much devotion. That is why I don't do most things that people do. I don't go out, I don't party, I don't do any of those things. I don't hang out. This is all I do. And I'm devoted to this 100%. Because I know that if something's off, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it the way that Spirit wants me to. And Spirit is always benevolent. It's uninfluenced. It's pure. It works through synchronicity. So a lot of people who watch my videos, for example, they're just aligning them with their own life, just seeing where it tunes in. And they say, wow, this is so synchronistic to what's happening. It's because Spirit addresses you through synchronicity. It doesn't tell you what you should be doing. Or this is how the truth is, period. It's so dogmatic. So there's a lot of people doing these videos on spiritual topics, and people even wanted me to do that, and I didn't want to, because I want Spirit to guide me, so that way it will be pure. It won't be egoic telling, okay, this person wants that. A lot of times it's personal desire. It's personified. It's not coming through the soul. So I need to do through Spirit. That's how I feel, and I try to implement the questions and topics sometimes in the videos that Spirit guides me to do, but it needs to be pure. And therefore this inner work of constant alignment, realignment, because it takes time to embody, this is important. So if you are very much into worshiping someone who's half guru to you, but are they only a speaker? They're devoting all their time to just sharing, to be in the spotlight. Do they also do the inner work? It's important. If you are here as a spiritual, I won't want to say teacher, but as a spiritual being who is here to serve the truth, that's all I'm going to say. Then there are certain requirements to this path. That's what this path requires, because those that are tuning into can be influenced by things that will be your own mental distortions and your own little implants, and they will go out into the whole. And that's why it's so important to protect ourselves, to be vigilant, to be discerning, to be within the integrity, because even the slightest acts that are going to be lacking integrity are going to align us with the lack of integrity, and we're going to experience it on the outside. So I know this topic can be a little frustrating for many. Many still don't want to embrace that there's still dark aspects, but when you're fully in love, in unity of that love, you will see the darkness, you will learn to love it, but you still will be observant. You know, like Master Jesus said, he was as wise as a snake. He saw the hearts of men, he knew how they were, but also he was gentle and loving as a dove. So this means that he embraced both aspects of him, you know, and love, light, comes first wisdom. So this is very important, you know, really watch yourself in terms of your awareness, not be careful, you know, everybody who warns you against someone, they say, be careful of this person or be careful of this type of information. We don't need that. If you're guided to that part of information, that's your part. But we can only share how the truth presents itself, because truth knows its source, so that those who really are walking their mastery will learn to recognize it themselves. And the truth is benevolent, it's pure, it's non-forced, it's not trying to rescue or save anybody, it's not trying to tell you predictions what's going to happen in this new age. It won't give you dates and timelines, it's just going to give you a presentation of who you are as in your divinity, and then your own divinity will do the rest. It is that easy, so simple, important. Okay, I hope this makes sense. If you have any questions, you know where to find me. And a lot more on this type of inner mastery work is shared in my mastery courses. So take a look into that. There's a discount on the whole 7. And Spirit already showed me that in the near future there will be probably, I hope, with all that I'm doing, yes, that there will be an advanced course for, you know, things don't end. You know, think you do something, okay, there's already the next chapter in the next one. So I greet you in this space of unification. So much love is in power. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.